Welcome, everyone, to this month's episode of the Pretty Okay podcast. I am your host, Taylor Holman. And today, you guys, my goal for today is to light some fires under your asses, because I know so many of you who are listening probably have an idea for a business. Maybe it's a brand new business. Maybe it's just something within your existing business that you want to do that you are overthinking to the nth degree and you are waiting for the right time. If you're not watching this, there was an eye roll and a finger quote, an aggressive finger quote that went along with that. And so today I feel like I've been saying this on a lot of the episodes. I have one of my favorite humans on the planet and my very best friends, but it's super true. I'm like, the podcast is a great way for me to have conversations with my really smart and driven and talented friends. So I am so excited to have Marina Pinell. Did I say that right? Marina Pinell. I still want to say Marina Rosales, but
it's fine. It's one of those, right? One day it's Rosales, next is Pinell.
Yeah. Sorry, Evan. But I am super excited to have my dear, dear friend Marina here on the pod. Marina and I go way back. Like, our entrepreneurial journeys, I basically have started at the same time, but the windy road that is life has led us to do things at a different clip of one another. But Marina, for the folks who are just meeting you for the first time, you want to give yourself a quick introduction?
Sure. Yeah. Hey guys, my name's Marina Pinell Rosales. Which one? I am coming from Cleveland, Ohio. I'm actually in my shop right now. I am the owner and founder of Harper and Ivory, a bridal boutique located in Cleveland, Ohio. So excited to be here and get to hang out with my Tay.
Yeah. Marina's downplaying Harper and Ivory, you guys, but we're going to get deep into this whole story throughout this episode. Just a tiny bit of background, because I feel like I don't do this enough with my friends that I'm inviting onto the podcast. It's like, well, how did your guys' worlds collide? So long story short, Marina and I, back in 2015, we were both working for a florist. And so Marina was their in-house event and wedding coordinator. And I had got brought on to help with some things, some creative marketing things. I don't really know that there was a clear direction of what exactly they had in mind in terms of a goal, but I was like, you need things, I can do things, let's do the things. And so even from way back when in 2015, Marina was still a proper baby, a freshie out of college. I was only a little bit outside of that window, but I knew from even way back then that Marina was going to own a business at some point. It was abundantly clear. It's this shit is in your bones, and it was the inevitability of where you were going to end up. And so I'm so excited that Harper and Ivory is finally a living, breathing, super amazing thing. And so that's what we're going to kind of use as the story that we're going to frame all of this around, because there's a lot to think about and consider when you're starting a business. But there's this huge misconception that there's the right time to do something. Mm-hmm. And I think that we're all looking for that right time, because it takes so much of ourselves, and also so much money to get a business off the ground,
so much,
that we want to make sure that all of our ducks are in a row and that we don't feel like we're gonna fail at it. But aside from the fact that it was a long time between me meeting you and knowing, oh, Marina's going to be a business owner, and actually starting Harper and Ivory, how long did it go from okay, I have the idea for Harper and Ivory, to when you finally made real moves to bring it to life?
So, I mean, it's crazy because this really, I think, started probably around COVID time. Even before COVID, I was I'm ready to leave my job that I'd been at for 5 years. Originally, it was I'm going to open an event space. And then COVID happened. And I was well, I'm glad I didn't do that. And then it was end of 2020. I was if I don't do this now, what am I doing? Because I think I was 28 at the time, still young, but very, very much ready for the next thing. And so it was end of 2020. And then 2021 came around and it was like, either we're doing this now or it's not going to happen, because we were looking at wedding season time when brides were going to be buying their dresses. And so it really end of 2020. And then we opened our doors July 16th of 2021. So it was pretty quick. Obviously, the idea had been there of creating something, some type of space that felt like my own. But then once the idea was there, it was very quick to find the space and then open our doors.
Other than COVID and wedding season kind of pushing you toward, okay, this is when we've got to do it. What was there something that you felt like clicked in you? And this is kind of like a little bit existential, but you know, did the woo woo part of you? I mean, neither of us are woo woo. I don't know why I said that, but did your spidey sense, like, was there something that said like, oh yeah, this, I got to do this now, outside of just the pressure of the timeline of needing to or wanting to get in front of that year's like crop of brides?
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely, I think once the idea came out of my mouth, and then it was like, okay, we're looking at buildings. Okay, I'm creating this brand. And I felt like each step that leads to opening a business made it more real. But it was really, I think the moment that the name happened, where I was like, oh, this is happening. Like the name is here now, like, let's go. And I think because we can have so many ideas, but I think when you take the time to really be like, this is going to be the brand that I'm going to sell and I'm going to market, that's when I felt like we have the right brand, we have the right name, and now we can build it from there. So I think once I found that name after writing like 100 different names in different ways, I was like, it clicked, right?
Yeah.
And that's when really I just kind of took off.
Now that we've talked about like, okay, these are the things that came together to push you into action. What were the things swirling around in your brain that were like, maybe not, maybe now is not the right time? Like, what was, because we all have a part of our brain that like is trying to protect ourselves from making risky decisions. And so what were some of the things that you were like, oh, I'm going to talk myself out of this?
Oh, I did talk myself out of it a bunch of times. I mean, you and I can't imagine the amount of texts. I'm like, okay, Tay, I'm going to open this. Okay, Tay, I'm going to open a coffee shop. Okay, Tay, what about this idea? And I did that to Evan, my husband, as well. And he was always like, maybe. And it really was like when I brought up opening a bridal store, he was like 100% like, yeah, go for it. And not that I needed his approval, but I feel like you don't realize that there are people pushing you, right? Like a lot of times you might have ideas or, and they're like, yeah, go for it. And you're like, yeah, maybe one day, or when I have time, I'll think about it. But it's like, you make the time when you want to make the time. You make the time to go to the spa. You make the time to take a nap. Like you can make the time to sit down and like really dig into your ideas. So it was very much like when he was like, yeah, I think you got to go for that. And that's when I started driving 50 minutes from Akron to Cleveland, finding different areas, places that I think the space could be, the shop could be. And I think that was really when I was like, I don't think I can go back. Like I'm too invested now. I've invested too much time. And then when those thoughts are like, but is it the right time? Oh, but I love having insurance, or, oh, like I love my paycheck every couple weeks. Like all those things that I think always make us feel safe is what like keeps us from actually putting ourselves in situations that are uncomfortable. And I always tell people like, when you're uncomfortable, that's a good place to be, because we like to be comfortable. We like to be, there's fireworks happening.
I know. I don't know why that happened. That's amazing. We are not cutting that out because that is some weird shit.
What was that?
I
That's
didn't know
crazy.
that. I don't know that Riverside knew how to do that, guys. But
Okay, well,
so here's a reason for all of y'all to like go to the about 10-minute mark and go watch the video because that was amazing.
that was literally, and that's what I tell everyone, like, get uncomfortable because good things come with tension, with just being uncomfortable, because you know that you're doing something that's different from your day to day. So I would say push yourself to be uncomfortable in the moments when you're like, maybe that's not a good idea. Oh, that's going to be too much time or too much money, or no one believes in my idea. Like, you're the person that is going to be up late at night pushing this idea, fighting for this idea, like believing in yourself. And so you don't necessarily need anyone's approval, but it is good to surround yourself with people that are going to push you, and challenge you. So when you have those moments that feel like, oh, is this actually going to happen or work out? You have those people on your side rooting for you.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's so important to have, a community or like a tight knit group of folks that you can turn to and really trust for a serious gut check, because I would go so far as to say most entrepreneurs have lots of ideas, like more ideas than there is life in our lifespan to, bring to fruition. But, in the process of, when the words for ideas are leaving your mouth and you're putting them out there are people that are just going to always say, "Oh yeah, that's a great idea. You should totally do that. You should totally do that." But it's the folks who you keep who are not just going to be an echo chamber, who are going to say like, "Yeah, that's a good idea." But when you get to the point where you have the idea that's the one, and the people around you that typically, cause some productive friction to make you really think about stuff, when those people start to go, "Oh yeah, like you need to do that," then 100%, if there are any flags that we could throw as like, that's the sign to make the move, that's it. Right. When the people who give you a healthy level of skepticism
Yes,
see the potential in the idea and your ability to make it something, that's like a super sweet spot. So
absolutely.
yeah. So because I mean, you and I are pretty similar in this way that like, our spouses are our spouses, but they're also like, professional partners and confidants in a lot of ways. And so, no, we don't need our men to tell us that we can like have permission to do anything. Sorry, Brett, I love you, but like, no, no one's giving me permission for shit. But it is really nice when they're just as fired up about something that you're going to put so much time and energy into. So
absolutely,
it is a really great feeling.
Yeah.
So my next question for you is, the Monday morning quarterbacking of things, or like hindsight is 2020, is a real thing. So have you ever had moments where you've looked back and been like, "Ooh, maybe that wasn't the right time to do this"?
Like opening the shop?
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's kind of pretty wild because obviously like we opened pretty much towards like a pandemic was still happening. Like,
Yeah.
And I think that was a huge part that was like, if not now, then when? Like, literally, we don't know what is happening to our world. Like, everything, we are all stuck in our homes. Like, what is going on? Right? Everything's in question. Like, truly, I was looking at my life like, what am I doing? One day I'm planning my wedding and getting ready to go on my bachelorette. And then literally it's like, nope, you can't leave. Go into your home and stay there for the next 3 months.
Yeah.
Coming out of that, it was like, if I'm not living my life to the fullest potential and finally like believing in myself, then what am I doing with my life? Like, what is my purpose here? If I know it's in me. And so like opening in July of 2021 could not have been like a more perfect time. Obviously for the wedding industry, everyone's like, let's get married again. Like, let's just finally do it. Let's go big. Let's whatever, have the small backyard wedding. Like, let's just be with the person we want to marry, and let's, finally, like, we're free, right? We're free to get out of our house. So definitely, like, I couldn't have imagined a more perfect time. Maybe I wish I started sooner. Maybe I wish I started in my early 20s. I would say that would be the only part, like, wishing I believed in myself earlier than, not saying it was too late, but that's the hardest part, is like saying, I'm going to just try. Right. Because I think we're so scared of failure. We're so scared of, like, the what ifs, that it prevents us from even, like, trying, right? Asking for a promotion or leaving our job because we liked a paycheck every 2 weeks. Like, that part's the scary part. But I can't imagine anything more exciting than, like, believing in the amazing idea or ideas that you have and, like, seeing where it takes you. Because like, what else is there to do in life than try and take some risks? So
totally. We're only on this, like, spinning rock for this much time, right? Like, maybe it's like this much time. It's no time. My fingers are very close together for the folks who are listening. It's like the tiniest bit of time.
Yeah.
And yes, it's always nice to feel safe, but, like, when you think about what you're going to experience in your life and what are the memories that you're going to have, what's the legacy that you're going to leave, for the folks who are going to remember you before the 2 generations, and then, like, we all are forgotten. It's like such a sad stat. But it's, you have to take some sort of risk. Like, that's how we live our lives to the fullest. And starting a business can feel like such a huge, big risk, but also in the grand scheme of things, what's the worst that could happen? And I'm going to, like, bring this full circle to a past episode with my friend Catherine, who opened Francis Henry, a retail shop with the cutest little baby clothes.
So
but
cute.
she was like, what's the worst that could happen? I lose all my money and I go bankrupt. Like, that is a real risk. But there's this phrase that in the, like, action sports world, because for those of you who don't know, I like to play outside like a 12-year-old boy. There's this phrase of, like, but did you die? And if you didn't die, then it was totally worth the experience. And so I love that, of just like, hey, if I don't do this now, I'm just going to incessantly think about doing it and why I didn't do it, and, all of these other things. So yeah, there's, you just gotta make some moves.
Yeah.
So looking into the future, is there anything that's on your, like, oh, I want to do this, but you also catch yourself waiting for that proverbial right time to do it?
I mean, definitely would love to open another Harper and Ivory. We've been open 3 years now, and, like, I'm getting that itch where it's like, oh, is it time to expand? Is it time to find another great space? And I think the biggest thing for me right now, and has kind of been my thing for this year, after having, 2 kids under 2, and really having this whole new identity that I'm still trying to figure out, like, how am I a mother? And these children are calling me mama, and, like, what the heck? But I think it's just kind of staying a little bit more grounded and constantly, I would say, working on that next goal, but, like, knowing that right now I'm focusing on my main first baby, and know that that is a goal, that is, like, something I'm working towards. And again, probably there's never going to be a good time to go after that. But making sure that I'm at least established here and this is taken care of for me to then make the next move to open another store. But again, there's not going to be a good time for that. It's just doing it and then, seeing what happens after that.
Yeah. I do think that the asterisk and that is on this, and the concession that you can make, is when you have a business, like a physical business, and you have 2 tiny children. I think that is a very legitimate, like, this today, this week, this month might not be the right time for something, because it takes so much of you to raise kids, to somehow keep yourself like grounded and sane and
Right.
feeling fulfilled, and then keep a business profitable, that if one of those things is truly really out of whack, that adding more to it does seem like, oh, that would be quite intense.
Mhm.
And so I think when people are thinking about expansion, that's one of those moments where I do think it is appropriate to think about your capacity to take
Right.
something on. But in general, it's like when you're just trying to take that first step, or there's
Yeah.
those first few steps, you just got to do it. So like, I mean, nothing would stop you from looking, like having your
Right.
eyes and ears open for the next spot. Like, that's just because you're looking doesn't mean you're going to sign a lease tomorrow,
Right.
but it's
Yeah.
always an adventure. It's so funny. Like yours and Catherine's lives are pretty similar, because she just signed
Right.
her. She just, at the time that we're recording this, she just signed her lease for her second location.
It's
And she had
amazing.
been like telling me, she's like, "Oh, I'm thinking about doing it." I was like, "Oh shit."
That's amazing.
But so I think you guys need to connect and
For sure. Oh yeah.
have a chat for so many reasons. But, you know, like when you think of the second iteration of Harper and Ivory, do you see it being very similar to what people can experience now? Or do you have wild ideas about what it might be in the future?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard because I think when I have talked to other businesses about like expanding, it's like the biggest question, the same question I get is like, can you be replicated?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you aren't there, like, can someone create that same experience that, they receive at like the flagship store, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and what has, I think, made us so unique and our customer experience, that would always be my number one goal. And if I feel that I can't provide that, I don't think I would want to do it.
Yeah.
Because for me, at the end of the day, like having a presence in my store and interacting with my brides and their families and being able to provide that excellent experience on, during such a very important emotional time in their lives, if I'm not able to create that same experience at another store, I think that would be hard for me to expand, especially if we're talking, out of state or something like that. So
Yeah.
that would be the only part that I think I go back and forth with, unless we, move to somewhere warm or something.
Well, you know, San Diego will have you back
I
anytime.
would love it. I would love it. So that would be the only thing I would say, that is just making sure I can provide that same experience, because I know what I would want as an experience for this time, in this special time in my life. If I was
Yeah.
getting married and doing dress shopping, and I know what I would like to expect from a business, and I just want to make sure I could provide the same. So
Yeah. No,
yeah.
totally. That makes all the sense in the world. I mean, that's so core to any business's success, is what is their client and customer experience like. And
Right.
that's what people take with them, in addition to like receiving a product, you know, buying a dress, or, you know, if someone's a graphic designer and, you know, is giving someone a brand and a logo, like what it was like to get to that point
Mm-hmm.
does really stick with people. And so I hope that it's top of mind for anyone who's listening. Is like, how do I make people feel when they're interacting
Right.
with me personally? How does my brand make people feel, even though it's not like a living, breathing thing? And then how does my team potentially
Mm-hmm.
make someone feel? And that's really one of the keys
Yeah.
to success in the long term, for sure. So
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, it's definitely one of those where it's like, yeah, you can have a great idea and, create this brand for it, but you have to make sure you understand the reason you're doing it, right? Like
mhm.
that you know what you want, how you want people to perceive that brand when they read your name, and share about you to other people. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So what's the thing that you would say to someone who is listening to this and is like, "Oh, but I'm," you know, they're making that face. "Oh, but I mean, I have this idea, but, and then fill in the blank. They have like 1,700 reasons that they've
Right.
talked themselves out of it being the quote unquote right time. What would you say to that person to really light a fire under their ass?
I had those 1,700 excuses for why I wasn't going to start this or, potentially my other ideas. And I would say that this is going to sound kind of crazy, but like if you thought about, okay, you have like 1 week to basically live, right? 1 week to like make an impact and do whatever you wanted to do. Like, would that be a part of that? Like, would you be like, yeah, I'm just going to open the business. Like, I'm going to just go for it. If you were given just a small amount of time to make an impact or to be able to leave this world knowing that like I believed in myself and I just went for it, like, would you do it? Because that's how I feel like I live my day now, is like, it's not about the money for me. It's about how my children, how they see what I'm creating for them. And at least for this time, this 3 years that I've been open, the impact that I've had, that the store and my stylists have had on this, in this community, for our brides, I think I wouldn't want to have any other way. Like if I had only a short amount of time left, like I would 100% start all my ideas I had, because it's like, what else do I have to lose, So I think that would be my answer.
Yeah, no regrets, folks. Like let's live our lives in a way that we're not going to have a regret that we didn't do something. And so as uncomfortable, like you said, as uncomfortable as that might make you feel, that's another one of those signs like, oh, like this is a big thing, and it might be big and scary, but also it could be big and amazing, right? And at the very least, even if it doesn't end up working out, you tried, and 100% you will learn so much about yourself and how to do things. And the next idea that comes around and you have like a serious motivation to make it something, you'll do it smarter and better and more efficiently. So
for sure,
I'm on board with the do it because you don't want to regret not doing it.
Right. 100%. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I think those big reasons of why you feel like you shouldn't do it, honestly, probably are way bigger than actually just starting it and creating a name and getting an LLC and like going for it. Like it truly, those ideas of like, it won't work out are probably so much more intense than just the steps to actually start a business. It's just this idea that it is such a unknown, scary situation. But I will say that you can't just put 40% into a business. Like you have to go 130%, or more. Like you can't just be like, oh, I'll do this on the side and it's going to be successful. Like the moment that you literally quit your jobs and say it's time, that is when like there's no going back because you have no other choice. And so, when you feel it's the right time, which again, there's no right time, like quit the job and just go for it. Because I think that will really show you how passionate you are about it. And you'll do everything to make sure that people learn about it and it grows and it becomes as successful with the effort that you are putting into it. So
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much for having this conversation. I mean, you guys, like I said at the top of this episode, it's like there's a pattern. Taylor's just inviting her friends who she loves to come and have recorded conversations with her. But I more than admire everything that you've done with Harper and Ivory. Like as a serial entrepreneur, as a marketer, as a, creative person, it's like you have this magical combination of things going on. And I'm so glad that you finally took the leap and was like, nope, I'm doing this. It's happening. It's real. So for the folks who don't follow Harper and Ivory, where are the places on the internet that they should start following you?
Yeah, you can follow us on Instagram. That's our main area that you'll see my face, and maybe I try on some dresses. And it's at Harper and Ivory Bridal. So that's on Instagram, and then harperandivory.com is our website, but we're mainly on Instagram. So give us a follow if you like some reels. So
yeah. And I mean, if you guys are ever in Cleveland, every once in a while, Harper and Ivory has these really great open houses and community events and things like that. So keep your eyes peeled for that if you're in the hood, because Ohio City is super cute.
Yes.
And it's definitely worth a visit.
Yeah.
So thank you again, Marina,
Thanks,
for having this chat with us. The show notes will be up on the website, prettyokpodcast.com. And there will be some fun things going on Instagram at Pretty Okay Podcast. But we will be back next month with another episode. And until then, I will see y'all around on the internet. Bye.
Bye.